Well, hello, my name is Tony Hendricks. I want to welcome you to this new edition of News and Views broadcast by Access LaPorte County and Public Access TV channel. We are a weekly public opinion show addressing national, international, and local issues. We will adhere to broadcast rules, but absolutely no one's, First Amendment right of free speech or freedom of the press will be either muzzled nor denied. Any unauthorized use of the captions or events of this program without express written consent of, I guess it's just Larry Moe today. We hope you enjoy the program. Well, it's strictly prohibited. We hope you enjoy the program and participants. Kind of starting sports, huh?
Oh, yeah, you can.
Sports
you want to start or do you want me to?
Let's start with the Bears. Okay. The Bears, again, the Bears. I know you guys are sick and tired of hearing about Bears. But what do we have? The governor signed the Bear legislation yesterday, I think, in Indiana. I wanted to talk about it because Illinois sounded like they got blundered with the Bears with Indiana and sidetracked, but I saw a news article, a news program that talked about the Bears committee down in Illinois. And they had a legislative committee meeting with a whole bunch of people, and I thought, I think we are at the juxtaposition of all bets are off, everyone's played their cards. I personally think the Bears will stay in Chicago, or not in Chicago. One thing has been clear by everyone I've seen last week is they're going to Arlington Heights. They're not going to be in Chicago. That's been said by Illinois. The other funny thing about this committee down in Illinois, so their response to Indiana is, we're going to create this committee. And the individual, I forget, it was a state rep of Illinois out of Chicago area, said every person that has a taxing interest in the Bears is going to be on this committee. Can you imagine what that discussion, I personally think, no solution will come out of that committee, because we talked about this last week. I heard it again this week. Chicago is very upset. And they are losing the Bears.
Well, that's what they're upset about, is losing the revenue.
They're losing the revenue. Last I heard, they want to spend $150 million to $200 million repurposing Soldier Field for something else, which I think it could be used for.
Well, yeah, Soldier Field's over 100 years old.
So they are going to send their taxing entities and Arlington Heights taxing entities, and you're talking everybody, forest management, every taxing entity, they said, will sit on this committee. I don't know how many that's going to be. 50, 75, 100 people? Have you ever tried to run a committee with more than 5? It's going to go nowhere. And I think the governor of Illinois, Pritzker, every Republican in the state, every downstate representative or senator is going to sit on the sidelines and let this thing mire in muck with this committee. And the Bears are going to have to decide.
Yeah.
Because I think they're going to get nowhere with this Illinois committee with every taxing entity, because that's the legislation they're approving, I believe today. This is Friday. I believe they're approving that in Illinois today or next week, and good luck with that. The Bears are probably thinking, what do we do now? We've shown all our cards. We have to decide to mire through this committee, which we know will probably never end. Chicago will never let up on the money they're going to lose. Arlington Heights doesn't want to pay the freight. The Bears assuredly don't want to pay the freight. They're going to get potentially $2 billion from Indiana. This is going to be very interesting. All the while, we are discussing players, the draft.
The draft, the Indianapolis Colts. For those of you that may watch football a little bit but are not real fans, the Indiana University had its greatest football team ever this year, led by a quarterback by the name of Fernando Mendoza, who won the Heisman Trophy. Indiana University, the first time in their history, they won the national championship in football. So as a result of that, Mendoza, their #1 quarterback, will probably go #1 in the draft. Now, it's Las Vegas that has the #1 pick in the draft. They don't have a very good offensive line, and Mendoza, in terms of his ability to draw fans into a stadium, probably would go to, if his agents can arrange a trade, probably would go to one of two NFL teams. The Miami Dolphins would love to have him. He's from Miami. He played the national championship in Miami. They have cleared, in quotes, $56 million in cap space. I can't even imagine 56.
Is that going to be the highest paid player ever?
We'll
I
find out.
believe it will be. I will believe he will be.
Now, in addition to that, the next place besides Miami that he would be a real star in going to would be the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis is well familiar with him, and so is the state of Indiana. And right now, the Indianapolis Colts have given permission to their backup quarterback, Anthony Richardson, to seek a trade with some other team. He was the number 4 pick in the 2023 draft, but he's had a backup position ever since. And it looks like the Minnesota Vikings might be interested in him. So as a result of that, if the Colts could arrange a trade with the Minnesota Vikings, that would take out their number 2 quarterback. Their number 1 quarterback is an individual by the name of Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones led them to an 8-1 season, mid-season last year. Problem is, Daniel Jones has a history in the NFL of injuries. Again, that happened to him last year. He could not finish the season, and as a result of that, Indianapolis had just barely over 500 season. And Indianapolis might be competing with the Bears if the Bears would decide to come to Northwest Indiana, which I don't really think is going to happen. But if they did, Indianapolis would be competing with them for season tickets. And there's a lot of people from Northwest Indiana that are Indiana alums that would go down to see if Mendoza is playing for the Colts. They would like to go down there and watch him play, and he would be a big addition. If it'll be interesting if you follow the situations with the NFL, how this goes, what Las Vegas does, and what Miami and the Indianapolis Colts do. But he could wind up easily with either the Indianapolis Colts or the Miami Dolphins. It would be great for their fandom, certainly would be for the Indianapolis Colts fandom, and I'd like to see him play for the Colts. Even though I'm a Bear fan, I might actually have to decide to go to a couple Colts games.
So
What do you think?
I think you have to dig a little deeper. And I don't know because I don't pay attention much. Mendoza's very smart, and the IU coach is even smarter. He brought with him a group of people. Mendoza, I guarantee, is looking at who his supporting cast is, because a quarterback knows how good you are. It doesn't matter if you don't have a supporting cast that can protect you and pass to. So I think we're going to find, if we want to dig, and maybe you sports fans have, he's looking at his supporting cast because he would like to be a good quarterback, and no one can be a good quarterback without his front line and out people to pass to.
Well,
And I don't know who's got the better one here, Miami or Colts.
Well, that's the problem with Las Vegas, is they really don't have a
Yeah.
solid offensive line. The Colts have pretty much a solid offensive line. Miami does also. Miami's problem is they've got a quarterback that's not very big in terms of height. He can run, but in the NFL today, you have defensive linemen who are 6'5", 6'6", weigh 290 pounds, and can jump.
Oh, they're huge.
And when you've got a small quarterback, it's very hard for him to see over the defensive lineman to find his open players out in the field that he can pass to. Mendoza is between 6'4" and 6'5", so he's not at a disadvantage height-wise in playing that position. So we'll be enthralled to see what happens with the NFL draft.
That's, I think, I would like him to come to Indianapolis, but I think Miami will offer more money.
Very
And
possible.
I think he'll be the highest paid person in NFL sports, maybe all sports. I don't know. I don't remember what Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or LeBron James made, but there's some big money there.
Well, they were before all of this inflation.
Yeah,
So what
this
was the
inflated
high-
dollars. And I think Mendoza's smart and in tune enough that he will make more money on his image, just as smart as Michael Jordan. We all know Michael Jordan was far, far more profitable through his image, and he made sure he profited from that image before he went to anybody, because he knew that was $8 out or 80 cents out of every dollar was in image, not in his salary. But I think Mendoza's that smart.
He sold an awful lot of shoes, and he sold an awful lot of T-shirts.
Yeah, and that was his foray into, it was going to be Adidas at the time.
Yeah.
Because Adidas was huge, because I can't think of the band, I forget the rap band at the time. They were the big person in the market. Nike wasn't nowhere to be seen, but they made a deal with Michael Jordan that says, we will pay you X number of dollars for every dollar we sell. And that made him all the money. And that's going to be the most interesting point about Mendoza. Is he going to pick somebody like PepsiCo or Coca-Cola or somebody, I don't know, somebody big, Nike, Adidas, they're all going to go vie for him. And is he going to pick somebody small that he could build up and make more money on, or is he going to pick somebody who's already established and they have to offer him a lot of money?
Yeah.
That's a tough. I think that's the toughest thing for any sports player. And I don't just mean national sports. I mean college, high school, junior high. We are seeing that.
Well, yeah, because people are willing to pay the money into the TV revenue just to get the channels that they can watch on TV these games. So the big part of this is what's called streaming. But if you're going to pay for one game or 5 games or 15 games, you can pay for them individually and have them stream. And as a result of that, the teams can make a lot of money, and then they obviously can afford to pay for the players. I've got 2 things to bring up. One of them, Tony and I have a little bit of a disagreement about a certain situation, and I thought I would mention that and see if Tony wants to talk about that. Other than that, I really want to talk about this Ohio Street US 20 situation. That intersection is really turning into a horror story. But Tony, I know is,
bring it on.
Tony, I know, is in favor of having Blue Chip take over where the Indiana prison is located. At the point that the prison is no longer part of Michigan City, and it seems like this is an ongoing saga and could be for quite a few years. So Tony may still be alive, but I probably won't be when this is finally ended.
Oh, that's sad.
But I would like to see, and I've talked about this before, that parcel of land used to build an inn or a lodge for the Indiana Dunes National Park. I think that would be a significant addition to the park. There is no lodge or inn for either the Indiana Dunes State Park or the National Park, the Dunes National Park. And I think you'd have quite a few people that would come here, and this would significantly increase our recreation industry possibilities. Now, along with that, I would also like to see them put in a major research situation, either with Purdue University or Indiana University, in terms of doing a lot of research on Lake Michigan and the kind of species that is in Lake Michigan, both from a fishing standpoint and from a fauna standpoint, and the types of species that it would actually allow to grow in that lake. Now, there is a college in Michigan, Grand Valley State, that does have, they have 2 educational boats, and they also have 2 boats that do research. We could easily tie one of those boats up in the harbor in Michigan City, or 2 of those boats up in the harbor in Michigan City. They'd be available to take trips out. Grand Valley State does send one of their boats down here maybe every other year. You can go out and see the research they've done. I think this would be a real positive. And in terms of its long-lasting capabilities, I think it would be there a lot longer than if we just put Blue Chip there. Because I would like to see Blue Chip move east. East is where the population is going, toward New Buffalo. I think that's going to fill up big time over the next 10 years. Puts Blue Chip in a spot that it would be very easy to get to for people who want to gamble for maybe 2 or 3 hours. People that want to go have dinner in a nice restaurant, that would be available from Blue Chip also. The one negative situation is that there's an old landfill that has all sorts of things that we're not even aware of in it, including the potentials for some mortar shells that go back to World War II. That would have to be cleaned up. But this may be the way that we could get grants, maybe from the federal government, if we could show that there's mortar shells in there from World War II, to get that thing cleaned up. And it would be a nice addition, and I think that it would be very valuable for Blue Chip to be able to move that way. They could still keep their boat in the harbor that they've got. If we got a land-based casino, they would move it to that situation going east. But if you wanted to have special deals, fix it up like people could have staterooms on a boat, and so they could sleep on that and do neat little things like that, and we could still maintain that. So I'll turn it over to Tony, and he's going to tell me why I'm wrong.
I'm telling you how we can make a deal. Let's make a deal.
Okay.
I have no problem, and I think it's a good idea to have the lodge on the old prison. It could work in conjunction with Blue Chip and a land-based casino. You go down to French Lick, right?
Mm-hmm.
French Lick has two very old hotels that has a walkway connection to a casino. So we could do something like that. A lodge would definitely help Blue Chip. It would help the national park. And hopefully we would partner with the lodge and the state of Indiana, which they're already doing in lots of other parks in Indiana, state parks, to have an indoor water park. So what I'm asking is, yes, I hope the prison leaves before you're gone. I hope it leaves before, this is crazy, before I'm gone. And we could have Blue Chip over there connected to a lodge and a public-private partnership with an indoor water park. Blue Chip proper, I think the boat is a very good opportunity for some research for aquatic in Lake Michigan. It's a boat. We could use it. And I want to throw this out. They have two hotels. This whole research with whatever university you connect with might have one of the hotels, and I would like to throw this out because I've thrown this out and it didn't work. Maybe it still will. City Hall could move to the other hotel, and we could have City Hall with parking and on Trail Creek. It'd be a good spot for it, and we could sell City Hall where it is for whatever we're going to put. Hotels, condos, whatever we're going to put there, because that's probably not the best place for City Hall. I pitched City Hall to be in the Elston campus, which I thought was great. We could have paid the school district $20 million and bought the campus from them. The school district would love $20 million. Or we could have bought the mall and tower and everything for $3 million, and we probably put $10 million in City Hall could have been there. I'm grateful the Ton and Blank bought it because they're doing very good things with the mall. But if you're going to look at, we need to make a deal. We need to think holistically on how these pieces fit together. If the prison's not going to be here, I would like a lodge. I would like the casino, and I would like a water park. I think those could all fit together and work together.
But I'm going to say, with the water park, I'm not sure you'd be able to get what I would consider to be a solid research center in there. I think we
give them the Blue Chip Casino property with the boat and the hotel, and they could have all that, and they could put a research facility in that whole arena and connected to the other hotels. There's two hotels, an old hotel and a new hotel. It could be City Hall. We have plenty of room, I think, in the old hotel for City Hall and all its departments. Easy access.
It's 26
parking.
Stories. I'm not sure.
No, that's the new one. The original.
I know what you're talking about.
The original ones would be perfect for City Hall. We could have access to all that. They have meeting rooms. They have everything. It's a one-stop shop. It opens up City Hall property for something more tax lucrative. And that property could be both research and while we get a whole west side of town, because I think west side is the biggest growth in the city's future. Well, we're going to go east, but the west side is waiting to have tax revenue, and that I think that tax revenue is far greater than the tax revenue you'd lose if Blue Chip left theirs and gave it to tax-exempt organizations, a university, Michigan City Hall, whatever it was. I think the prison campus is incredibly tax lucrative, and everything surrounding the whole west side. You would probably have $1 million to $3 million homes in there, and those people would make a whole bunch of money. I'm sad they couldn't live in their houses in gentrification, but if they're selling their house for $1 million or $2 million, I think that'd be a good deal. Yeah. So I mean, I think we make a deal. And we got to be ahead of this. We got to be way ahead of this. This is, again, I always say the mayor has a very hard job. The mayor needs to focus on these things. Any mayor and I don't mean Michigan City, any mayor or leader that's focusing on the day-to-day operations, just spinning your wheels. If you have to focus on the day-to-day operations and like any company, then why do you have any employees at all? If they can't do the day-to-day functions, you need to get different employees. You have to, the mayor and the leader and the CEO have to focus on the future. And that takes a lot of planning, a lot of skill, a lot of leadership to have that vision of where you want to go 15, 20, 40 years from now. Because if you don't, you're just grasping at straws, and we see what happens. We're happy for what we get.
Well, to what Tony's saying, I would like to add this. When I look at the west side, the number one thing we're going to have to do is get sewers, water, and sanitation and storm sewers. And that's going to be very expensive, or you're not going to go anywhere with the west side. The other thought I had was that west side ought to be perhaps the industrial development area. And one of the things we're going to have to follow through with, and I'm sure that the state is well on it. Our governor is pretty good friends with the president. He's talking about bringing in a lot more manufacturing. We're going to need a place to put that manufacturing. And one of the things that I mentioned this before, and Burns Harbor is also looking at this, is tugboats and ice cutters. We badly need ice cutters. Right now, they're manufactured, a lot of them in Finland. Obviously, it's a long way from Finland here, very expensive to get them here.
Sailboat to find.
And so I think that's one area that we could look at. And I know the president is, because he said this, is very interested in bringing ice cutters into the U.S. And I think this would be an ideal place to do it. It would be easy to get them out to Lake Michigan to test them before we send them anywhere. And tugboats on the Mississippi River are big. There's a big demand for them because they are the cheapest way to transport what people would call high density but low value items. High density but low value items would be steel, aluminum,
grain,
and things like this. So there is a market there for this, and we need to take a look at how we take advantage of this. We need to get the average straight time hourly wages up and in this area. And as a result of that, the way you do that is through manufacturing. They will pay bigger wages because they have, in many cases, tighter margins than a lot of the recreation type industries do. So they can afford to pay the bigger wages, but they need trained people to do that with. And we're going to have a situation that in our school systems, we're training people for these type of jobs. The old deal when I was growing up was that you graduated high school, you went to the military for at least 2 years, maybe 4 years, you got an honorable discharge, you could automatically get hired by Pullman, Alice Chalmers, and any of the steel mills. That's not true anymore.
Nope. I want to go on the revenue, because the article that I found this week, I read the comment sections, they always are either funny or they produce a lot of good information. Somebody in one of the comment section, I was on some, I don't know how I got to some social media because I'm not a social media person, was that I&M, which you have talked about a lot, AEP, Indiana Michigan Power was bought by AEP, big multinational firm, electric supply, utility, has said that they are asking the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, the IURC, to lower electric rates, citing revenue from data centers. So if we get Blue Chip to move to the west side, I'm sure the revenue will be there, because now we see that, and I've known about this discussion in Stark, Pulaski, Jasper, where they have 13 square miles of solar. Those entities that run that solar, I think it's a big multinational firm, is willing to give revenue to those counties and municipalities because they want to be good neighbors. I think they gave Stark County $1 million last year for paving roads in their county. They would like to give,
by the way, Stark County really needs that. Stark County is one of the poorest counties in the state of Indiana. Go ahead.
So, and the last thing I heard about Stark County and Jasper and Pulaski was they were asking the solar companies who create electricity if they would like to subsidize the people in those counties to cut their utility rates because they're really high. We're all seeing very high utility rates. And I think that might come to fruition. And then this comes up, and I didn't believe it. I had to look it up on the internet. It's true. I&M to lower electric rates, citing revenue from data centers. The utility, this is, I guess here you can jump in. Utility rate changes still require state regulatory approval. So we understand if they raise the rates, we want to change it. But we have to ask to lower the rates. Can't the state just say, if you would like to lower the rates, please go ahead?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to have a problem, okay? But they still formally do have to do that because the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission has control of the rates, either up or down. Now, I have a feeling that the commission is probably going to stand up and cheer when this comes in. But yes, formally they do have to do that.
This is going to be interesting because the commission's going to stand up and cheer. And I guarantee every state rep and senator, because there's now a committee to look at the rates that are going up in the state, not just by NIPSCO, Duke Energy and everybody. They're going to say, well, why is I&M lowering rates and you guys are all raising rates? And I&M's going to say, we are lowering rates because of Google's Fort Wayne site. So Google and the President Trump has been very hard on data centers, saying they need to supply their own electricity. Mm-hmm. Well, we said it here before. If Google supplies or any data center supplies their own electricity, they don't just supply what they need. They have an abundance of electricity. So some of that will come onto us, onto the grid, for us for free, because they don't know what to do with it. They might get paid a little bit. Who knows? They might just give it to us for free. Sounds like Google's Fort Wayne site is going to help I&M with their electric supply, and they're going to lower their rates. That would be nice. I&M says, okay, we're going to lower your rates. Also, the plan includes a benefits bank designed to stabilize customer rates by providing a buffer against future cost increase. So not only are they going to lower the rates because of Google's Fort Wayne site, which is probably huge, they're going to create a benefits bank to buffer, and I've said this before, you got to be resilient, to buffer any increase that might happen that we don't understand. So not only, and this is going to be very interesting because I haven't heard a peep about this from any news service. I found it on a comment section. I had to look it up because this runs counter to every argument I'm seeing nationwide and locally. The LaPorte County Plan Commission just is passing a data center ordinance.
Yeah.
And all the hubbub we have about the Royal Road data center here in Michigan City, this runs completely counter to every argument I've heard about a data center. Me, either way, it's your ground. As long as the data centers don't use up my water, don't increase my electric, don't create a bunch of noise and a bunch of problems environmentally. If they're a good neighbor, I'm okay. If they're a bad neighbor, and we do need rules to say, if you're a bad neighbor, we're not accepting this. We're not letting you run power generators all night for your data center with noise and pollution. We're not going to allow that. I agree with those ordinances. But this right here shows there's an upside. We are now in the throes of people very upset. It was on Chicago News. The town of Hamlet and Chesterton, people were complaining. There are $300, $400, $500, $600 NIPSCO bills. That's, one lady said that's a car payment. That can't continue.
Well, we talked about this before, but part of that has to do with the fact that NIPSCO is a very small group of customers in terms of their electrical output. So as a result of the kinds of investments that NIPSCO has to make in their generating systems in order to supply the electricity that's needed, they're supplying it to a small base of customers. So when they go down there and they show that to the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, here's what we need based on our current customer base, here's the investments that we have to make in order to supply them with that electricity. That becomes the problem, and they get their rate increases because if they don't, they can't supply the electricity, which is why I am for LaPorte County, at least, coming under the total umbrella of I&M, Indiana, Michigan, which would be AEP. Now,
I know why now.
Part of LaPorte County is already under I&M. The eastern part of LaPorte County has I&M Electric. It's only a matter of bringing it over to the county line with Porter County if we would go under the control of I&M rather than NIPSCO. We do not want to do away with NIPSCO gas. NIPSCO gas is a real good situation for us from a utility standpoint, their availability to deliver the gas, and what their costs are in doing that delivery system. So all we're talking about here is electrical system, not the gas system.
We are on the cutting edge here, and folks that watch this at home, you probably know. Because the next paragraph is data center demand concerns. The announcement comes as advocates have raised concerns over electric rate increases tied to data center growth. I&M has also filed separately to accelerate new power plant construction as demand is projected to nearly double between 2025 and 2030. We talked about this, Sheldon, a couple times, at least a couple times. How this negotiation is happening, we don't know, but we could read the tea leaves. NIPSCO is not a big provider of electric. I think they would be fine selling it to either Duke, I&M, ComEd. Those are their surrounding people. And this right here, I think, is a great negotiation tactic for I&M. When they go down to the IURC, Regulatory Commission, ask to lower rates, and they go down to ask the IURC to add some more power generation capacity, they're probably in the driver's seat when it comes to the Regulatory Commission to approve buying NIPSCO electric more than Duke or ComEd are. So I&M has really got some good corporate leaders because they are playing every chip exactly right.
This would be a positive for bringing in industrial type companies that use electricity. The other thing about industrial type companies, in many situations, they actually need a lot of natural gas. This would give NIPSCO the money if they had to have it in order to expand their natural gas situation. Now, why does industries need natural gas? It's for paint lines. Yeah, in order to do the kinds of painting that you need in an industrial situation for whatever you're going to manufacture, automobiles or automobile parts, or refrigerators or refrigerator parts, you have to be able to paint them. And as a result of that, you do that through gas, not through electric.
So here's my question for you today. Since we are on the cutting edge.
Just remember, I'm old.
We see these things coming from afar. Is it possibility, or what is the possibility, since we know AEP bought I&M, that AEP makes NIPSCO a wholly owned subsidiary?
That would also be a possibility.
They win both ways.
Well, what you'd have to do, though, remember, AEP does not have a utility now in the natural gas business.
Nope. Nope.
So
that's my thought. Opens that up, doesn't it?
Yes, I don't know if they would want to get into the natural gas business. That would be a major decision for them if they would want to do that. But as far as the electrical business, now if they spun it off, AEP could make it a subsidiary of AEP, and that would work. But
we know the natural gas is a very well organization in NIPSCO. We know they make a good amount of money.
Yeah.
It's very profitable for them. I just thought, just this now during the show, AEP would be wise, and they're paving the way here for a wholly owned subsidiary of NIPSCO. And they would get out of that deal their ability to get into to natural gas, because NIPSCO's natural gas is far more reaching than just here.
Yeah.
Far, you don't understand how far, well, to the East Coast, right?
The last time I looked, NIPSCO has 3 times the number of natural gas customers as they have electric customers.
They reach to communities as far as the East Coast,
yeah.
And their subsidiaries. And AEP, and this would be good for NIPSCO stockholders and NIPSCO people who own money, because this would be the buyout. And I hate to say it because I really like smaller utilities or smaller anything. When you start getting big conglomerates, things tend to get overrun and we get overcharged. But AEPs and I&M are making really smart moves there. I hope these moves are honest. They're not moves to just grow their corporation. Because you have corporate people who in corporate boardrooms that have to have growth, or they won't have their position anymore.
Right, I was going to say
they got to grow, or they're not going to be on the board anymore. These, what do they call it? The CEOs, the C-suites. If the C-suites, the corporate suites, don't produce things for their board, they're gone. So I hope that, and this is a very good thing, that I&M has partnered with Google's Fort Wayne site is probably huge. It's probably a massive site, and they are going to add capacity. I think it's interesting that they're saying they're going to separate to accelerate new power plant construction, because I understand that they have Palisades in Cook, and they're going to add another mini nuclear power plant.
I thought Palisades was owned by, is it Entergy?
Yeah, but I think it's in the AEP world.
Right, it's in their domain.
Yeah. So I think with Cook and Palisades and another power plant, which they say they're accelerating newer power plant construction, I would be willing to guess that's nuclear. And the new nuclear plants are nothing like you've seen before. They're not like Cook. They're not like Palisades. They are self-protecting. They reuse nuclear power, and they're very efficient. So if they're getting, I bet they're getting the money from Google, because Google's been told by the federal government, you supply your own power, that they're going to probably pay to build this power plant for I&M, and they might be able to make a deal and take over NIPSCO. We don't have any inside information, but boy, if that happens, you viewers saw it here first.
Yeah, okay.
We predicted that, and you said before, NIPSCO's small. They're small fish in this big market.
Yeah.
And I just thought AEP has no gas. Maybe they would like to diversify and be resilient at gas and electric. We know what happened in the Biden administration, which probably happened again if Trump's not there. They will go push more electricity and a lot less gas. But we do need it for manufacturing. You know, any process that you do, painting or plastics, requires heat and natural gas.
Yeah.
So and Europe has seen the problems of not doing natural gas, because now they're shipping LNG, liquefied natural gas, across the oceans, which is really hard to do, or they got to buy it from Russia. And I don't think America will do that. But I thought that was amazing. Do you think anybody, I don't think I'll see one person come to any meeting that is against data centers, whatever the reason, and say, hey, looks like I&M is lowering electric rates because of data centers. That's a positive. Maybe we ought to work with data centers and make sure they're good neighbors, and maybe we get our rates lower. It'd be sure nice to get our rates lower.
Oh, yeah.
If I&M can do it, I guarantee you every utility company is getting ready to do the exact same thing. They would love to go in any state and say, we're lowering your rate. We're going to have less. I don't know if there's ever a time that any utility companies has lowered their rate. Since they became a company, they don't lower rates.
That doesn't happen very often.
So there is the big story of the week. You heard it here. Look it up. You can Google it or Yahoo or whatever. I&M to lower electric rates citing revenue from data centers. If data centers have that kind of money and they're going to give us tax revenue and a bonus and lower our electric rates, hey, come on down. And I think Michigan City needs it. I think Michigan City has plenty of ground. Okay, we're going to go to Ohio here. South of 20 on Ohio, the old J.M.R. Ruby and the old Brown area, that could all be developed for manufacturing. I don't want heavy manufacturing, but it's ready. It's already set up to go. That whole quadrant of Michigan City, I think, is just fine, even up to 94, even further west, which we hope we get an interchange at County Line Road and
which, by the way,
94.
was a negotiation when we gave Mount Baldy to the federal government for the Lakeshore National Park. We were supposed to get that interchange, and we never had.
I understand that interchange is designed, and it's sitting in NDOT's records, already designed. Now things have happened that other owners have happened that's going to make it more difficult, but wouldn't be that hard. So we go to Ohio and Ohio Street and Highway 20.
Yes.
Dangerous. And I'm going to say I don't like them. Everyone knows I don't like them, but roundabout.
Well, that might be one way to stop this.
There's room.
But the problem is these big 18-wheelers that are coming through there. And
they're steel haulers, and that's a heavy steel route.
Right. But one of the situations you have is as they come going from east to west on Highway 20, they hit a stoplight at Woodland Avenue. Mm-hmm. They hit another stoplight at Franklin Street. Mm-hmm. So as a result of that, they've slowed down for those stoplights, or they stopped at the stoplights, those two. Then all of a sudden, when they're either stopped or slowed down for Franklin Street, i.e. 421, all of a sudden they see this big open area. And they don't realize that there's a stoplight at Ohio Street and US 20. And so what happens is they rev their engines to get going, and man, they come flying through there. They can't stop if they've got a red light. So what do? They pull a horn if they're wide awake. If they're not even wide awake, they just come flying through there. What we're going to have to do, first of all, I'm not sure about the roundabout, because some of these guys are could take that roundabout out and about 5 cars along with it. But that's one thing that I guess the engineers would have to discuss. But for right now, what I want to tell people is, if you are at that intersection of US 20 and Ohio Street, and you're on Ohio Street, watch the traffic before you ever start across that highway. See what's coming, both from east and the west, but probably the more dangerous situation are those trucks coming from the east, because they've geared up after they've gone through 2 traffic lights, especially if they don't know the area, and as a result of that, they go flying right through that Ohio Street situation. Be careful, watch the truck traffic both ways, and make sure that before you go out there, you are able to get across that highway with a lot of room to spare on these trucks coming through. Now, as for the trucking issue, obviously that's now before Congress. It's a huge situation where we have a lot of individuals that are qualifying for CDLs, commercial driver's licenses. They can't read English. I never realized this until I looked it up a little bit. California will allow you to get a CDL taking the test in 22 different languages. We only use one here. It's amazing. And that language is English, but if you don't know English and can't read the signs, you get weird situations, and they do put some of them on TV. They had one yesterday where an 18-wheeler was going the wrong way on a highway in Missouri, just kept going, apparently didn't even realize that they were going the wrong way until the state police finally were able to pull them over. This has got to cease. They have got to make sure that these people get commercial driver's licenses, that when they get those CDLs, they are qualified to handle the driving situation in any state in the United States. It can't just be some 1 or 2 states. They have to be safety. They have to have safety precautions when they do that. That's my thoughts. We've got to stop this. Well,
Ohio Street and 20.
Yeah.
When you're going south to the hospital, there's somebody taking a left next to you. You're not going to see one of these trucks blazing through the intersection that cannot stop. And that is the bad situation there. Now, this is not just Ohio Street and 20. This is Ohio Street and 20. This is Fail Road and 20. This is...
That's east of here.
Yeah, east here. This is 35 and 20 over by 94. The first solution, and maybe we'll get INDOT to look at it, is to increase the length of the yellow light. Because the yellow signal is made for a car. It's not made for an 18-wheeler loaded with steel to be able to stop and hit the brakes. And now these are commercial professionals drivers. They should understand when they see that light. Even I had my kids, educated them. Then you see a green, you're looking forward, you see a light's green. By the time you get there, it's probably going to be red. These commercial licensed people should know, I'm driving an 18-wheeler, I can't stop it. That light's green a half mile ahead. When I get there, it's probably red. So I shouldn't be blaring down 60 miles an hour knowing I can't get stopped when I get to that light, because the yellow light is going to be very short. And so they just lay on the horn, they run through the intersection because they physically can't stop, and they weren't smart enough to realize the light was probably going to change by the time they get there. Granted, both parties are wrong, but at least INDOT could change the length of the yellow light and tell these people, they see the yellow, it should be enough time for that 18-wheeler to slow down and stop, not a car or a pickup truck. Now, we see lots of, and I don't like them, but the roundabouts do give them opportunity, because an 18-wheeler fully loaded is very hard to get up to speed. And so then it's very hard to slow down. And if they just had to slow down around the roundabout and get back up to speed, it's environmentally more friendly, it's safer, and they can get through the intersection with a lot less problems and a lot less accidents. We've seen, we don't think 421 in Franklin could be a roundabout, but it could. Go to Valparaiso and look at that huge intersection there by Best Buy and all that. Yeah. They have a 3-lane roundabout for turn and traffic because that stop sign was crazy. That intersection was even crazier. And now they have a functioning roundabout. It's tough to get through.
It does work pretty well.
It does work pretty well.
Yeah.
And same thing. They had lights that were forever. So don't think Franklin and 421 could be a roundabout. It could be. Just like, the thing I watched, and again, I have no inside information, but somehow there were crews out at 35 and 94 and 20 out there by the Speedway out east of town. I think they're putting a roundabout there. And instead of what they do with their design when they did that off-ramp and the stoplight at the eastbound 94, they should have just put a roundabout there. There's plenty of room. I think, I've seen people out there, they're designing a roundabout.
Well, if you put a roundabout at 421 and 20, that would slow the traffic down coming from the east going west.
It would slow them down
Yes.
and not stop them, so they don't have to gear down to a stop and start back up, which we know by the time 3 semis try to get through that going westbound on 20, the lights already turn red.
Yeah.
For them to gear back up and get up to speed, it's hard. It's hard for them to get up to speed. It's hard for them to stop. So if they don't have to stop at 421 and 20, they could have, 20, 25 mile an hour in gear already, and we would be a lot safer, and we wouldn't have to wait for all the calamity that goes around that intersection. That thing has been, in my lifetime, that's been done at least 4 times. I was a surveyor contract the last time we redid that widening, and I think we did the best we could. I don't think it was the answer. And maybe that intersection needs to be. But first thing, the easy solution is to change the length of the yellow light at Ohio and 20. So we know we still have a red light. They have enough time to either hit the brakes or get through the intersection on a yellow without broadsiding somebody. That holds us up crossing 20 in a red light. Pretty simple. I think NDOT could take care of that in a day. It did take them a while to get, Cleveland and 400 fixed.
Well, I just want to emphasize, though, even if they do this, you could still potentially have problems because people are going to try to outguess when that yellow light is going to turn red. If you're there, watch.
Yeah.
Be careful.
I do.
Understand that this is a significant problem, and you're not going to win with a vehicle against a steel hauler.
No.
The other problem we've got is they've issued so many of these CDLs in places like California and Minnesota that we've also got people that do not understand the language and what they have to do, even in a roundabout situation.
Yeah.
They see the arrows, but they're not sure what the heck it means, which is how they get going the wrong way on certain highways. This has got to be taken care of.
Yeah.
I got to switch to one more. We talked about this a long time ago. But that's this situation with the old Memorial Hospital property.
There you go.
Way back when it had another name, I think originally it went by Doctors Hospital.
I have no idea, but that sounds familiar.
That goes back a ways. One of my very first memories, I think, was at the Doctors Hospital in, believe it or not, now this is a long time ago, understand this. They had me in the hospital. My parents tell me this, I didn't know this. I was probably 3, close to 4, and they thought I had polio. So back in that day and age, what did you do? They took out my tonsils.
Didn't know that.
Medical science has changed greatly since.
A little bit.
And it turned out I didn't have polio. Fortunately, thank you. So anyway, but that, I think the name at that time was the Doctors Hospital. What they are proposing is 8-9-story apartment complex. And the problem with apartment complexes is they deteriorate. And the people that own them want to get their money out of it, so they pay the price to put it up and to have the right things in there at the start, and then they don't maintain it. They continue to raise the apartment rates, and people sooner or later get tired of that. They move out, and then they have to lower the rates to get more people in. And when they do that, they get customers that really, in many cases, don't take care of the situation. These need to be condos, or they need to be hotels, and in the recreation industry, my opinion.
Yeah, if we're going to put more apartments down in that area of Michigan Boulevard and 5th or 7th Street, didn't we learn our lesson? Because these apartments, I don't care what you call them, workforce or whatever, Section 8, Section 42, these individuals and equity partners usually who build these need to get their return on their investment, whatever way it works. They don't care how many police calls you get. They don't care how many people have to, need help from the federal government. They don't care how many fire calls. They don't care. Now, it's not coming out of their pocket. As long as they're getting paid their rent, and the people that can rent them are very high rents, usually have some subsidy. They don't, the tax revenue is not near what I think it would be if it were townhomes or condos and ownership. And the calls would be less to the police. The calls would be less to the fire. There was probably less school system costs. Everything would be less if they were condos or townhomes. Apartments, they cost a lot of money to have. And we know what happened on Michigan Boulevard and 5th and 6th Street. We know that those are people that usually are very hard times. We have these apartments up on Paz Road. Seems to be okay. I know they get a lot of calls out there. We have Normandy Village. They just redid Normandy Village. It looks pretty nice. They still get a lot of nefarious things goes on there. It's not a good situation. And like you said, our downtown is growing. It's getting better. Do we need to pile in a bunch of apartments in there? Probably not going to help anything.
No.
It might look good on paper now. And again, I'm going back to what we just talked about. You need to plan and have the vision, or you're just grasping whatever you get. Stop grasping. Plan for what we want. Don't just take whatever comes in front of you.
And understand the culture. When you start putting up apartment complexes like this, in an area that really is designed for the kinds of hotels that are in the recreation industry, in the convention type industry, you're getting out of the culture, and it's going to take the other places down. You need to get this into the same culture. And Blue Chip would appreciate that, because Blue Chip would like more business. So as a result of that, it's close, and I think Blue Chip would see more business out of it.
They want high revenue clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, real quick, we only have very long. We're on to the Blue Chip sort of gambling thing. Indiana did pass the bill to grant another casino license to somewhere in Fort Wayne. I don't think it affects us very much.
But that was the Rising Sun.
No, they're keeping Horizon Sun.
They're keeping it Rising Sun.
They're giving a new one. They are taking, I believe they're taking one of the off-track betting licenses that are two, I believe, left, off the table, giving a casino to Fort Wayne somewhere. I don't think it takes a lot of revenue from Michigan City, but it does put Michigan City on notice and every other casino around here on notice that you better start reinventing yourself.
Yes.
Because the old way of doing things, you're not going to make money. And that's why I think it would be great if Blue Chip had the opportunity for a land-based casino, because Michigan City could have lots more in a land-based shows, events, other things that we cannot have with where they're locked in now.
Well, we've said this for years, and they haven't really been able to come up with something to do this. But we need to find some type of a recreation situation from January the 5th through April 15th that will attract people in here. Maybe in the Lake Hills, if we had them big enough, tobogganing, that type of thing.
Water park, indoor water park.
Well, okay, an indoor water park where you have all
with condos and townhomes surrounding it.
You got to have heat in there, but as long as you get the heat in there. But I also like the idea of tubing in the Lake Hills, going tobogganing in the Lake Hills.
Tubing on Mount Baldy.
Yeah, yeah.
Ski lift on Mount Baldy.
Yeah.
It's not out of the realm. So I mean,
that was my thoughts.
That bill puts us on notice. They're getting a new casino in Northeast Indiana. Michigan City better look at doing something with Blue Chip, and so does every other casino. The days of just having slot machines and gaming tables, Not going to make you a bunch of money.
I think Blue Chip is heavily invested in this sports betting situation.
Sports betting was the last, that was their revenue generator.
Yeah.
I think, again, the person that embraces poly market betting, or I forget the other one, Cashy, was going to make a lot of money because that is the younger generation of
You
gambling.
tell them what
So poly market betting is kind of a crypto connected, so you bet on the odds of something and they bet on the craziest things. And I have never done it, but I've looked at it. So if you bet on, I think one of the bets right now is, will Trump go to a war with Iran in March?
Yeah. Yeah, they're in days.
Yeah, this is just crazy things, and you bet, and I don't know how it works. It's some kind of crypto, and you make money. You trade crypto, so it's kind of betting, kind of not. But you could cash out at some point in time, and let me tell you, the younger generation is all about this kind of gambling, far and above sports gambling. So I think somebody's going to have to reinvent themselves. There's another casino in Indiana. I think Indiana needs to be smart and realize that this gravy train of just opening another casino is not going to work for another 20 years. There's going to come a day where, and honestly, I hope we don't think that we're going to plug this hole by having legalized marijuana. We see what that's doing in Michigan, and I think that's going to implode upon itself, and that's an end game that doesn't pay off well.
All I can say is the gambling situation has come a long way from the back room of a couple of cigar stores when I was a kid growing up.
Well, I know those cigar stores. And those we got 2 minutes.
And my wife had a uncle, really quite a guy, who loved his big Windsor cigars. So for Christmas, because they'd come over to our house a lot for Christmas, I'd always go into the cigar stores to get a box of these Windsor cigars.
Yeah, and they give you the funny look.
Well, no. The guy at the front desk said, screamed out loud, because I was on the city council, cut it down, we got a city councilman in here.
And when you go to these cigar stores back in the day, they gave you the eyeball because what they were doing was not selling cigars.
Oh, they were selling cigars, but that wasn't where they were making their money.
Okay, 1 minute left. Anything?
No, I'm good.
We hope we get Dave back here soon.
Yes.
He seems to be better, and his assignment's ending. We'll get him back in here. But with that, I want to thank everybody for watching. Your input as to improvements or criticisms of this program is greatly appreciated. Please contact show's co-producers Bob Pollock, Dave Bila, or myself with your comments. You can email Bob at skrpollock@gmail.com. You can email Dave at djb1@hotmail.com, or myself at emalagm@yahoo.com. Or you may direct your ideas to any future shows to our only one writer, Sarah Bell. Showing of our program will be Saturday morning at 10 o'clock and Monday and Thursday at 7, and other times I haven't catch it yet. I didn't stay up late. Andy feels comfortable. The other times that you can view, Andy will choose, or YouTube. 99 Navigate News and Views is our channel. You type in 99 Navigate News and Views, you'll get us. We thank you for watching, and make it a good day.